Howdy, this is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on November the 4th in the year of our Lord 2025, Election Day for some people. So I'll try to cover a little bit of that, although a lot of the polls aren't in yet. I think the Virginia governor race is like 40% or 50% of the votes counted, and the Democrat candidate is in the lead there by 61% to 39% or some crazy stuff. But I'll try to keep you updated on that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and click over here, Murtech on Rumble. Okay, this is the video we're watching tonight, my episode 1736. Let me go ahead and get into that. And this is the video. Let me close out the live chat and slide down here and open the description box by clicking the Show More button to expand that out. Okay, we have information from Doug in Exile. Here's the link to that video and the link to Doug's site. And from Benny Johnson, here's the link to this video that I'm sharing with you and the link to his channel. X22 Report, here's the link to the video, and over here's the link to his channel. And Wendy Bell Radio, here's the link to Wendy's video, and here's the link to her channel. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs to get. K-Paw UK just started following my channel. 1369 Tattoos just started following my channel. So thank you very much for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Debbie BS commented on my episode 1735. And Debbie BS also commented on my extra 519A, 519B, and 519C. Debbie BS also commented on my extra 520A, 520B, and 520C. So thank you, Debbie BS. You were busy today. I appreciate your comments. Thank you so very much. Let me go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. All righty. Okay, well, let's see here. This was a comment from yesterday, I believe. Yeah, listening from New Zealand. So, yeah. This is listening from New Zealand. I didn't clean that up from yesterday, but I thought that was a good comment anyway. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Doug in Exile has to say about Trump dropped the hammer. Okay, well, let's check it out and see what that's all about.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Part of why we're happy is because Trump keeps winning. He makes it look easy. It's actually very difficult to do. I think he's brilliant. But let's get to this. This is his tweet. And I just want to kind of frame this with, look at Mike Davis up here. Now, Mike Davis is someone I respect a lot. I think he's true MAGA, probably my top tier MAGA guy. And he's a legal scholar. I believe he clerked under Gorsuch. He says, Trump is right. Senate Democrats will nuke the legislative filibuster to go from 60 to 51 votes to pass anything the next time they control the White House and the Senate. So the filibuster in the future is already dead. So the idea that we're going to preserve the filibuster and force all of our votes to have to get a 60-vote majority to give power to guys like Massey and Ron Paul and the kind of outliers, and to really strangle Mike Johnson's work that he needs to do, and all of our congressional leaders, what they need to do. This will multiply our votes if we remove that filibuster. It's already going to be removed under the Democrats. Here's Trump's all caps tweet: terminate the filibuster, not just for the shutdown, but for everything else. We will get all of our common sense policies approved. Voter ID, anyone? Now that is key to Trump, because voter ID, that is needing to present an ID for your vote, is the greatest threat to Republicans losing 2026 and Trump being impeached and thrown in prison for life. It could also affect J.D. Vance becoming president in 2028. I'm all for removing the filibuster because it's just a tradition. I mean, we like our traditions, but, we're beyond tradition now. And make America great again. Remember, the Democrats will do it immediately as soon as they get a chance. Our doing it will not give them the chance. Republicans, be tough and smart. He's right. The Democrats are crazed lunatics. Also true. That's not hyperbole. They will not open up our country no matter how many people are irreparably harmed. That's wisdom. We're going to go into more wisdom. Here he is on 60 Minutes with Norah O'Donnell.
But we're cleaning up our cities. You know, I campaigned on crime, but I've done a much better job on crime than I thought. You know, the crime numbers are way down, even though we have a lot more people in our country that really shouldn't be here, and many of them are stone cold, hard criminals. When I look at D.C. now, you can walk down the middle of the street. You can have your daughter, who's 10 years old, meet you at the park. She's going to be okay.
In
she
certain
would have
parts
been
of
murdered.
DC.
Well,
I live
almost,
in DC.
Well,
Certain parts
you
of
tell
DC.
me, how big a difference is DC now compared to what it was a year ago? Right? I mean, you have to be honest with me.
She's nodding. She lives there. So she walks those streets. How big of a difference? That's the bottom line is, did it work? Is it working?
People in the White House, they walk up to me, young ladies I've never seen, sir, thank you very much. I know, they don't even have to tell me what they're thanking me for. But when I ask why, he said, one girl said, I'd get into Uber and I felt dangerous even in Uber. They'd attack the car, okay? It wasn't even safe then. Sir, I now walk to work every day and I'm so safe. There's nothing going to happen, 100% safe. And you know that too, Norah.
I want to ask you about
You
this.
live here, you know that too.
I want to ask you about
Do you see a difference?
American
Do you see
cities
a difference?
in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
I think I've been working too hard. I haven't been out and about
Oh, that's
that much.
not a fair answer. You see a difference.
Well, that's a 60 Minutes dodge. Do you feel a difference? I work too hard. I don't see it. She'll do anything to not concede the point. I'm sorry, but if you work that hard that you can't tell that there's less murderers outside, that's a dereliction of duty as a journalist. You're lost credibility. Here's Ricky Gervais. Now, this is what Trump's trying to stop. What happened in Britain is they allowed all of their criminal terrorists to walk the streets. And now here's a real ad from Ricky Gervais for his vodka company. He says, welcome to London. Don't forget your stab vest. Don't forget your stab vest. That's a advertisement for booze. And part of why Ricky Gervais is such a successful comedian, he's the one that started the whole The Office franchise. Part of what makes it so successful is there has to be a little truth in it. It's like, ha, ha, ha. The Brits are kind of laughing. Ha, ha, ha. Welcome to London. Here's your stab vest on a subway, on the tube. And we're going to go into more of that on how do you stop what happened to Britain here. Trump is stopping it here. History will remember him as we opened the floodgates of illegal immigrants. Biden did. When I say we, Biden opened the floodgates to illegal immigrants coming in. And the Mexican immigrants, as murderous as they are, they're not even as threatening to me as the Islamic radical terrorists that are here. But if you open those floodgates, you don't control who comes into your country. And Trump, all he's doing is, my dad taught me about preventive maintenance on my car. You don't wait till the oil runs completely out before you change your oil. Why? Because for a couple bucks for a quart of oil, you can save thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage on your car engine. That's what Trump's doing with preventing a hostile future. We were at a tipping point. Without voter ID, they would manipulate our votes just by bringing in the numbers. That's why they needed the 11 million minimum illegals coming in here, and then protect voter ID, and then give them our welfare and our rights, which Schumer's doing to protect right now in the government shutdown, trying to protect their freebies. And we're paying for it. In the not so distant future, this is Neil Berg, Trump will probably have to make a similar tweet about the United Kingdom. I'm not even exaggerating. What is he going to say about the United Kingdom? Here's Trump. If the Nigerian government continues to allow killing Christians, and this is what he's saying could be said about England, if the English government, if the Brits continue to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, quote, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I support this. Now, people say, oh, don't get involved in foreign wars. I don't believe that. I'm not an isolationist. I do believe in protecting Christians in other countries. Is that radical? Do you guys, I want to especially reach out to the isolationists in my audience and the ones that are against starting wars. This is about starting a war, a religious war. And everyone goes like, oh, religion, that's the cause of every war. Actually, it's atheism that allowed the Muslims to do what they do, protects them. I am hereby instructing our Department of War, that's to Hegseth, to prepare for possible action. That's a threat, so the Nigerian government has to go, uh-oh. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet. Sweet. It is pleasant to kill evil that is killing Christians. And I agree. That is righteous anger. Just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. In all caps. Trump is dropping the hammer on them. This is going to be brutal. They'd better listen because he will do it, but I assume they're going to go, holy crank, we better do something about our own borders. Now here's, this is Michael G. Waltz with some backup on that. He's the ambassador to UN on Fox News, talking about 78 countries and how Christians are the number one people being attacked around the world. I know there's a lot of heat on the Jews too, and everyone talks about the Jews. Their numbers are nothing compared to the Christians being mowed down. Are we going to stand by? You know, the parable of the Good Samaritan is that if you have the ability to do something, the unique ability, when someone is suffering and you walk past them, you're a Pharisee. In fact, it was the Pharisees that walk across the street at the evil Samaritan who is suffering, the man that is suffering, and it's the Samaritan, an evil person, who comes and helps him. And Christ says, that's my guy, the one who goes and helps.
78 countries, 330 million Christians being persecuted around the world. It is the most persecuted religion.
330 million, that's like the size of our country worth of Christians being actively, and I'm talking about being skinned alive. It's a horror. I can't even show, obviously I would never show that video, but it's a horror. If you let your imagination go to how evil a human being can be, that's what the radical Muslims are doing to Christians, and they get away with it in other countries.
Across the Middle East and Africa and elsewhere. And to your point, relative silence from the international community. It is in the UN Charter as a basic human right. It's one of the things that Nicki Minaj is going to come over, and we're going to have her talk to the UN, talk to our experts.
I showed Nicki Minaj's tweet from last week. This is a pop star. She has giant implants and she has a very foul mouth and she's very street. But she came out and complimented Trump for taking a stand with Christians. And now she's going to come and address the UN. This is populism, guys. This is Trump's great strength. And this is a common sense person, Nicki Minaj, who's coming in and brings her celebrity and credibility. I celebrate that. It might be the only thing good that this famous person ever does. We should applaud it, even though she's a hoe. And Trump is going to do something about this. And I like what the ambassador said. I don't like it, but it reveals the West has done nothing. We've cast a blind eye. And though UN has a charter of these human rights violations, they'll spend all their days condemning Israel and will not mention the Muslim murder of 330 million Christians that they're trying to intimidate.
And actually hear from some of these pastors and others that have been so horribly persecuted. And I really welcome her engagement and her spot.
I think Trump is amazing for this. I also welcome Nicki Minaj. Now here's Bill Maher on Trump's fantastic work with Saudi Arabia. This all ties together, guys. Trust me on this one.
That the other presidents do, like, well, we have to be even, Stephen. Maybe who knows who's right? The people who treasure life or the people who treasure death? Right. And he was like, where would you live, Ramallah or Tel Aviv? You live in Tel Aviv. Right. A society that resembles yours and has shared values. Not letting women be free to dress as they want and covering their faces and stuff. That's not our values. No. Are you kidding? So
that's the actor Michael Rappaport. He was in True Romance and that John Singleton movie about a campus. But he is a very pro-Israel guy, and he's had to come around and warm up to Trump. He went from calling Trump terrible, terrible names to now Trump is his only ally in leadership.
He said, no, I'm with Israel. Period. Let's see how this works out. I'm with Western values. Right. I think democracy is better than theocracy. Now, we can also go into the discussion about how the horrible things he's actually doing to democracy in this country. But for this discussion just about the Middle East, how about this? The Jews love him more than any president ever. And the Arabs do, too.
Right.
That's quite a hat trick.
Right.
You got to give it up for that one.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there. And it's it's amazing that a guy like Bill Maher, although what he's doing to our democracy, the Democrats' definition of democracy, I think, is different than what it is like in the dictionary, because their democracy is you do what we say and nothing else. Okay, it's our way or no way. But at any rate, this video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. Let's jump over here and share this. It looks like already the polls closed in New Jersey at 8. It closed in Virginia at 7. They've got, let me do a refresh on this and see what we got. Okay, 19% of the vote in, okay, for New Jersey. And they're calling Mike Sherrill the winner. He's probably is, with 63.8% of the vote in New Jersey. You get what you vote for. And the gubernatorial race in Virginia, with 44% of the vote in, and the Democrat there, Abigail, has got 51% of the vote. And they're calling her the winner. Now, as far as the New York City, the polls won't close until 9 p.m., which is about the time I'm going to wrap this up. But in my daily news wrap-up that I start about 9:30, we will come back to this and update that information for you. So I wanted to give you those results there from CBS News as of this point in time, 8:17. So the polls have been closed in New Jersey for 17 minutes, and they're already calling the Democrat the winner there. So there you have it. Amazing, huh? Okay, let's jump back here and see what Benny Johnson has to say regarding panic food stamp cutoff as Trump exposes millions of illegals on EBT mass welfare fraud. It's amazing how the Democrats try to set Trump up with different things. And he just gets in there and starts uncovering stuff and showing how much fraud and corruption there is involved in these different programs. But let's listen to what Benny has to say about that, and we'll go from there.
Wow, there's barely anybody here.
This is great.
Ladies and gentlemen, the left is here to absolutely hide what they're doing in our nation as it pertains to some pretty alarming numbers that we're now learning about SNAP, about Social Security benefits, about how many terrorists are in this nation. I think we're just scratching the surface on what the Biden administration has done and what horrors they have wrought on our nation. And there is a rot in our country. And these blue states are now hiding information from the Trump administration. The Trump administration is trying to find out how many criminal aliens have been given Social Security cards, how many criminal aliens are on welfare benefits. If you cut the benefits, you'll cut the illegal aliens. They'll go home. If they're not it's too expensive to live here. And if you cut the benefits, then they'd have to actually go perhaps pay taxes, buy their own food, support their own housing, and they just can't do that. They would self-deport by proxy. The first initial numbers from Doge was actually where you started to see some real scary results in some of the data processing for what is going on with criminal alien numbers. Here's Social Security numbers issued. See if you find a problem in some of this data.
When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just This literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed this in this direction. I want to honor them right now. That work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on.
Okay, so it makes you wonder, and I don't know if they're going to get into these numbers or not, but it makes you wonder, these Social Security numbers were issued. I wonder how many of these people came over, got a Social Security number, and started collecting Social Security at age 65 or age 62 after not paying one single penny into the system. I wonder how many people came over and got Social Security numbers and then claimed disability and started claiming disability from Social Security after not paying one penny into the program. I'd sure like to know those numbers.
Yeah. So I want to stop for a minute. I want to honor those people today. Very good people. Very good people. I have been from D.C. to Social Security offices to the border to track this down, and very good people have helped us along the way. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
This number, what this is when you come in the country, if you're illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They can charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you walk across the border, they do what's called a release from your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which to appear at a judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges, benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered.
Probably could find a better clip there, ALX. But nonetheless, the data is still readily available. Just this cursory dive into the data shows 1.3 million criminal aliens already on Medicaid. 5.5 million criminal aliens receiving benefits. An enormous number of them on voter records, registered to vote, and voting.
No wonder the Democrats...
They actually did vote. And of course, we have voluminous examples of criminal aliens voting in our elections. And then one of them, mysteriously running right back to China, a Communist Party member voting for Kamala Harris and then running back to China, was arrested, was charged by the DOJ, and then was able to sneak out of the country. Truly disturbing. The voter fraud is absolutely terrible. You've been deceived, robbed, extorted, and blackmailed. It cannot be overstated how much Democrats depend on criminal aliens, a fake population of America, a fraudulent and illegal and criminal population of America, to maintain power. And they do it in three ways. One, congressional reapportionment. The way that the census is counted is you count the number of persons. You don't ask their immigration status. You count how many people live in each district. So it is incumbent on Democrats to pack as many criminal aliens into their districts as possible. But that's hard because they're human beings. And so you have to have magnets. You have to have incentives to bring them in. If you don't have the incentives to bring them in, then they'll go somewhere else. This is why here, more than 41,000 voters' registrations don't match driver's ID database. State data shows in Wisconsin. 41,000 in Wisconsin. Isn't Wisconsin a swing state? Didn't Trump win Wisconsin with less than 41,000 votes? This is insane.
Okay, and this is an example here of 41,000 voters. I don't know who they're voting for, but I would be willing to say they would be voting for the party that gives them the EBT cards, the phones, the housing. You know, that would be my guess. I don't know. I haven't seen the data, but I think Wendy Bell is going to talk a little bit about that when we get to her video. I'm just like 6 minutes into this 31-minute video, but I got a lot of stuff to go through, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Benny Johnson. I am following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. And I want to share some information here from X22 Report as well. Episode 3766A. Okay, sorry, I got jumped to a different screen. Anyway, Supreme Court ruling gives Trump the ammunition to destroy the central bank. He is not playing by the rules, by the old rules. Okay, let's check this out.
Pleasure before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see they are panicking because Trump, once he gets that Supreme Court ruling, this is going to give Trump the ammunition to destroy the central bank system. And you have to remember, Trump is not playing by the old rules. Remember, he's no longer playing by the central bank rules. He's going outside of this system, outside of the deep state, and actually implementing everything our founding fathers actually wanted to be in place. Because our founding fathers didn't want a private West Central Bank. Actually, they fought against a private West Central Bank. Our founding fathers wanted we, the people, in control of our currency and earning currency into this country. And they didn't want the people paying taxes to a central bank system, because really, that's what we're paying. Yes, the government borrows the currency, but again, the currency is loaned to the government with interest, and we, the people, have to work harder and harder and harder to pay this back. This is something our founding fathers never wanted. And I do believe Trump, he wanted the tariff case to go up to the Supreme Court because, again, this is how he's going to stop the central bank system in the future. And not just with this, but actually changing the Federal Reserve Act, or maybe getting rid of it, changing the amendment in this country. Because once again, we can never allow this to happen again. And to do this, Trump needs to go outside of the system. He needs to go outside of the rules that they have created. And he has to use the system, the rules that have been used going all the way back to the beginning of this country. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. And he's going to use the central bank system against itself. Because, again, their entire system is based in what? Debt. Their product is debt. Yes, it's a corporation. They have a product. It's called debt. And basically, what they do is they create this debt and they loan it to the country, and then the people use that debt, and the central bank wants to be paid on that debt, just like any other product. And you're paying every single day. Yes, every single day. Every time you go out and you work, you're paying. You might not get the bill until a little bit later, but you're paying. And you could see at this point in time, the deep state, the central bankers, they're panicking because they realize if they lose control over the creation of currency, they lose control over everything. And we could see as we move forward, they will lose control. And what we're seeing right now, and we said this in the very, very beginning when all this began with Trump, we were definitely going to see the difference between the blue states and the red states. Because you have to remember, the blue states, they were very, very dependent on federal funding. They were dependent on handouts. They were dependent on all of this because they were running the deep state programs in those states. And when that currency runs dry, they are exposed. It's almost like when you look at the SNAP program or Obamacare. When the government is no longer fulfilling the subsidies like on Obamacare, everyone can see the true cost of the health insurance because the subsidies are removed. It's almost like the subsidies for the EVs. If you notice, every program the deep state, the Ds, put into existence, they always need to subsidize these programs. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? Because these programs don't work. And the only way they can actually implement these programs, it's because of the central bank. If they didn't have the central bank, do you think any of these programs would be able to be implemented? Absolutely not. And this is how they trick the people. This is how they enslave the people. And when you look at California, when you look at New York, when you look at Chicago, when you look at Maryland, what do you see? You see they're in trouble right now. Peter Sayong, PhD, put this out and said, tax Armageddon. In blue states, as federal handouts dry up, California wants to plug a $68 billion deficit with a 5% wealth tax. New York, Chicago, Maryland, New Jersey are all grabbing for billions. Last taxpayer out, turn off the lights. And you could see that these states are in major, major trouble right now. Because again, without the federal government, these states can't operate. Because what have they been doing? They've been operating the deep state program, the D's program. And now it's being exposed to everyone. Everyone can see it very, very clearly. And you can see the deep state players, the central bankers, they must be planning on something because Warren Buffett, he is now, his company Berkshire, he is now protecting his wealth, the company's wealth, and they're dumping stocks. And they've been doing this for 12 consecutive quarters. This is the longest selling streak in history. So we have to ask the question, why are they doing this? And where are they putting all this money? Why are they dumping stocks right now? And why are they taking this all in cash? And where are they putting it? Well, Global Markets Investor says Warren Buffett is buying U.S. Treasury bills at a historic pace. Berkshire Hathaway bought a record net $183 billion in T-bills in the third quarter of 2025. Over the last 12 months, the conglomerate has purchased $540 billion worth of T-bills. The company now holds $306 billion in T-bills. So the question is, why are they selling their stock? Why are they putting it into T-bills? Well, T-bills, as you know, is a safe haven where you can park cash for the time being while everything happens in the economy. And are they expecting something to happen to the stock market? Because we know the central bankers, the deep state players, they're not going to go down without a fight. They're going to keep pushing back. And you have to remember the entire plan for the central bankers, they wanted to bring the economic system down and basically try to bring us into the Great Reset in the end. So are they thinking that the deep state players, the central bankers, might bring down the entire system? Is that their plan? Maybe, maybe not. But we could see that the Federal Reserve, they're actually now being very, very cautious in what they do. They're ending quantitative tightening. As of right now, they're not moving forward with quantitative easing. They're holding everything steady. So if they went ahead with quantitative easing, that would basically ease the economy, and the economy would start to really move. Now, they're not doing this. They haven't made any announcement as of yet. So they're just holding everything steady, just like they were holding the rates steady. And it looks like there's growing call, or the Fed heads, they're making the case to pause the rate cuts in December. So they're going to be ending quantitative tightening. They want to pause the rate cuts in December. Basically, they don't want the economy to grow anymore. Now, is this a normal thing that they do in December where they say, hey, listen, we shouldn't have a rate cut here? No. They've always had rate cuts, or they even raised the rates in December. If you go back to 2018, December 2019, they raised the rate by a quarter point. Go back to 2020, December 16th, that was a pause. 2021, December 15th, that was a pause. 2022, December 14th, they raised the rates by 50 basis points. 2023, December 13th, they paused. 2024, December 18th, they cut the rates by a quarter point. So they do raise or cut the rates and pause in December. So they don't go on vacation. It's not something that they don't do in December. Yes, they do things in December. But they're trying, and certain Fed heads, they're trying to make the case of why they shouldn't cut the rates anymore. Now, remember, inflation is coming down. Trump now is drilling for oil. And you can see that manufacturers are going to be pouring back into this country. Remember, Trump has set the foundation. He's built it. It's prepared. And now, on top of this foundation that he's created with tariffs, with all the money that's being invested here, AI technology that's being built, tariffs that are being implemented across the globe, drilling for oil, he's now set the foundation. We have to also mention stablecoin. And I do believe eventually gold is going to fit into this. By doing all this, he's created the foundation in this country. And now, in 2026, he's going to start building the building. And the building is going to go up pretty darn fast. And you can see it's not just here in the United States, but India right now. They can't get enough of gold. The Kobisi letter on X put this out that India's gold imports surged to $7.8 billion over the last 3 months, the second largest on record. This is triple the amount recorded in the prior 3 months period. Additionally, the Reserve Bank of India has increased its gold holdings by a quarter ton so far in 2025, reaching 880 tons, an all-time high. The central bank also repatriated 64 tons of gold in the 6 months ending September. As a result, 576 tons, or 65% of total gold reserves, are stored domestically, up from 38% in September of 2022. Gold now represents a record 13.9% of India's total currency reserves, up from 11.7% at the end of March. The gold rush is in full swing, and it absolutely is. And you could see that Trump said he was going to be drilling for oil. He's going to basically ease the ability to get leases, ease the regulations, and that's exactly what is happening right now. Eric Doherty put this out and said, in a stunning blow to the experts, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum confirms that the United States just set an all-time record in domestic oil production. It's almost like President Trump promised this. He said, drill, baby, drill. The U.S. set a record on oil production, 13.6 million barrels a day. There will be new records set going forward. These countries here on the cutting edge are so thrilled to have the United States back in the game on any game of energy, abundance of energy growth, as opposed to following some European model or of trying to shut down all the traditional forms of energy. Now, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And, the thing is about these subsidies that he talked about earlier. The Democrats, as he said, love to subsidize things. I don't know why, they pick certain areas, certain industries that they like to subsidize, like electric cars, to lower the price, artificially lower the price, so that people will buy them. But what that does then for other automobiles, that decreases their sales. So they have to lay people off. And then when they decided to stop the subsidies, then you've got these high-priced electric cars, and they're not making the regular gasoline cars as much or as many. And the same thing with insurance. They artificially lower the price of insurance, and then it causes other companies, certain kinds of insurance, causes other companies to go out of business, and then they decide to stop the subsidies. Well, then you're stuck with a small package of companies that just gouge the shit out of people. So, and then the people beg for more subsidies, spending our own money instead of letting the capital markets do their thing. Okay, I want to share a little bit of information here from Black Haven before we move on to Wendy Bell. I think you'll like this.
Hey, quick shout out to Blockhaven. If you're into crypto and you hate high fees or long signups, this is for you.
Blockhaven lets you swap over 1,000 different coins and thousands of trading pairs, and you don't even need to make an account. No registration, no fuss, just pick the coins, confirm, and the swap's done in minutes.
The fees are super low, the whole process is quick, and you stay in control of your own crypto the entire time. Bitcoin, Ethereum, some random altcoin you found at 3 a.m. It's probably on there.
So if you want low fees, fast swaps, and zero sign-up nonsense, head over to blockhaven.co. Just swap and go.
Okay, good information here. All right, Wendy Bell. First, let's jump over here and check on the elections. All right, 30% of the vote in. Democrat still in the lead. They have her, says lean. I don't know what that means. Lean. 59% to 39%. Doesn't look good for the Republican. In Virginia, they're still showing win there, 64% of the vote in, with 55% of that vote going towards the Democrat and 44% going towards the Republican. And it's interesting here. I believe this is a black lady running on the Republican ticket. It's amazing. All these Democrats must be racist, I guess. Okay, here we are. Back here again, let's see what Wendy Bell has to say about Busted. That's the name of her video today, Busted. Let's check it out. Let me get up here past. All right, I thought I had this set to right after her Pledge of Allegiance.
Consistent vision news stream the whole 3 hours. America, and to the
Here we go.
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. So it's about 4 in the morning when I normally have to come up with whatever the thumbnail title of today's program is going to be. Some days it's easy. Last week we did Oh Snap, right? Obviously we had all these food stamp things coming through, a big story there, which we're continuing to follow. Today I was kind of on the fence. I didn't know what to do. And I really feel in my heart that you and I, we as a collective, regardless of how you vote or where you live, that we're in this weird middle zone where it feels like nothing is happening very quickly and it's starting to become disappointing, right? And I thought there's got to be a word for that, a phrase for that, a thing for that. What is that? And so we came up with things will get worse before they get better. That's not very encouraging when you're like, look, I wanted things to get better 8 years ago. I'm still waiting for everything to catch up, right? This is a pivotal moment. And I want to tell you about something called Cantor's Law. So several years ago, there was this Harvard professor. Her name is Rosabeth Moss Cantor. And she worked in the Harvard Business School, and she had done thousands of hours of workshops and meetings with business leaders, owners, entrepreneurs all around the world. And she came up with this idea, this law, if you will, that basically says everything can look like a failure when you're in the middle of significant change. The middle phase is often the most challenging, it is the most discouraging, and it is at that moment when you can't quit, when you have to fight, when you have to push forward, persevere, innovate, continue on, even though maybe inside you're like, when is everything going to catch up? We are in right now a moment of Cantor's Law. We have this giant upheaval on January 20th of this year, with President Trump taking the oath of office, resuming control of the executive branch, setting the table with an able group of cabinet members, and launching off rapid fire a whole series of directives meant to completely upend the chaos and the confusion and the corruption of the last several years. This corruption, confusion, and chaos was all planted by Barack Obama many years ago. But this new cycle that we're in, you see the ICE raids in communities. You hear the news try to tell you about them. It's just a father. He's just trying to get to his job. It's all hocus pocus and baloney. But you're watching a terrific retraction, a complete shift in what this country is, what we stand for being protected and fought for, right? And you're not seeing terrific results yet. We still have gas prices that are still too high, right? We have things approaching the holiday season. It doesn't feel economically like we're getting this great windfall that we were promised. This is Cantor's Law. You are in the middle, I promise you. And it is going to, in short order, start ticking more quickly in a way that you're going to find pleasing. All right? I want to give you an example. Cantor's Law. 2022, remember about this time last year, right before, well, in the throes of the Christmas holiday travel season. Do you guys remember what happened to Southwest Airlines? They got absolutely hosed. Technical problems, staffing problems, organizational chaos, all of these things coming to a head, a complete malfunction. They had 17,000 flights that they had to cancel. 2 million travelers were stranded. They got slapped with a monster, never before done, $140 million fine for the violation of consumer protection laws, and all told, they lost more than $1 billion at Southwest Airlines. What did they do in that moment, ladies and gentlemen? You can fold, you can close, you can say, I'm tapped out, that's it, sorry, out. Southwest Airlines did something very interesting. They took it to their staff, and they said to the ticket agents and to the gate agents and to the guys working on the tarmac and the pilots flying the planes, all of them, guys, what do we need to do? And they put the solution in the hands, ostensibly as it was reported, in the hands of the people who basically run the company. And the staffers, without any bureaucratic nonsense from the top, no trickle down, out of touch, typical executive directive that never solves any problem and always makes things worse. People in the airlines itself doing the job, connecting with the public and having to take their calls and their criticism. They decided and they came up with a plan where they changed some of the hubs around. They changed the strategy on how they were going to relate to the customer. They changed a bunch of different things, very common sense, quick to decide and implement changes that basically kneecapped the executives and said, we're going to take charge because the airline gave them the ability to do that. And they almost like organized and they completely changed things around as this story is told. And they emerged from what could have been a fatal blow. They emerged from an extraordinarily costly and embarrassing meltdown during the busiest time of the year and screwed over millions of people and millions more who never got to see their families for the holidays. And they made a quick decision, and the decision yielded results. That is an example of success with Cantor's Law. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in that inflection point. We all are. We're watching the fraud and the waste and the abuse of this SNAP system, right? When we found out with the shutdown that the SNAP benefits, food assistance benefits, were going to 42 million people, and you and I started looking around going, wait a minute, 42 million people? Who are these people? Peel back the curtain, and this whole debacle has exposed yet another grift, yet another fraudulent system that is so beyond corruptive. It is so beyond expensive and bloated, and now it's going to have to be dealt with by the Trump administration. They're in the midst of that middle ground. You are too. And you're watching it. And you know who else is watching it? A lot of people who used to vote Democrat. They might not have any intention of changing their party affiliation, But they are seeing on a silver platter a Trump administration inheriting a system meant to be a debacle. They had the Southwest Airlines absolute meltdown, except it wasn't over the holidays. This is what you are watching. And despite the 24/7 fake news about who's to blame, and it's always Donald Trump, there are meaningful changes happening. We're carving back so much waste. We're eliminating people who broke the law to get here. And we're exposing this whole emotional apparatus on the left that's supposed to connect with your do-goodery inside and make you believe that we need these programs, we need this spending because it's for the greater good and people need our help. What it is, friends, is the middle ground where America has awakened. And it is stunning to see the degree of fraud and abuse. But you are also watching the change. Don't be discouraged. Don't feel like it's not going to work. It already has. And I've got many examples of them today, okay? It's called Cantor's Law, but in true practice, it's called winning. It's called winning. And it's here. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, I got to tell you this story in Evanston, Illinois, my birthplace, okay, Chicago. I'm going to peel back the story that the news wants you to believe and then the reality of what really happened because more and more Americans are awakening to the truth. And that is great. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, let me scoot it up there. And folks, here again, this is what the whole thing, this is what I'm about here, is to get the truth out to people. Because so much, so many lies from the mainstream media. Okay, let's take a listen here. I like to see her dance and sing.
Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. You know, when I remember that Southwest Airlines holiday meltdown, and it's true, Southwest did pull out of a total debacle that could have forever furloughed 86 to business, and a big one of that. And instead, in a shrewd, rare corporate decision, they basically gave and empowered the employees to self-organize and to shift to a system that worked better. They shifted the service hubs. They cut tons of red tape. They came up with employee-driven solutions that helped Southwest recover out of obviously the potential to be a destroyer of the business. And they didn't have to wait for any kind of out-of-touch, top-down directive. They fixed the problem. An amazing idea, right? Well, this is what your government under the Trump administration is doing. They are not just allowing things to happen so you're forced to see with your own eyes, then they allow the media to go out, do what they do, garbage coverage, and then the administration comes out after that to give you the real story. This ICE situation in Chicago is a perfect example. So in Evanston, Illinois, over the weekend, Friday, there were 3 white liberal chicks, scourge of society. You know, I say that, and I mean that. The college-educated white liberal chick, terrible, following behind an ICE vehicle, following very closely, trying to dox the ride, trying to give people a heads up. ICE is coming, so they're super close, traveling behind this ICE vehicle. Vehicle slams on its brakes. Their car slams into it, crunch, and then the ICE agents get out of the vehicle to get the people behind them who are trying to basically alert people who they are and where they're going, get them out of the car. Now, I'm gonna tell you, and maybe Brock can play a little of the video, because I want you to hear one of the women is wrestled to the ground by one of the agents. She resists. They resist, gets pulled out of the vehicle, thrown to the ground, and is resisting. ICE agent on her, trying to cuff her. She's squirming and screaming, "I'm a U.S. citizen." And you're gonna hear a woman, another liberal chick, I'm sure, say, "Do you have your papers? Do you have papers?" Listen to what happened.
Do you have papers? Do you have papers? My name is Nancy Panay. I'm a United States citizen. Get back. Get back.
I'm a United States citizen. She wants you to believe, like, I'm just driving along, and look what happens. These monsters tackle me. Okay, so during this whole mess, some guy gets in and starts spitting on the ICE agents, tries to kick one of them. One of the agents throws the guy to the ground, right? Tries to get him in cuffs. The man's hands are behind his back, right? And he grabs the ICE agent's genitals and is twisting and squeezing the man's genitals. Now,
I got to jump in here, folks, because a major screw up. And I mean, Wendy is just so interesting to listen to. I shared this yesterday, okay? And you know, if you're following me, you probably think, man, this sounds familiar. And it sounded familiar to me too. Now let me get over here to the correct video that I wanted to share with you. For today, what the video she released today, I will update the description box with the correct link to this video. But okay, I'm going to start this video right after she does the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so I'm going to go a little long because this is good information here that I want to share. And again, I apologize for not updating my description box correctly and playing yesterday's Wendy Bell radio video. So here we go.
with liberty and justice for all. Amen. So yesterday I was telling you about this thing, this Cantor's Law, which basically says when you're in the middle of a monster takeover of change, when you're in the throes of a tidal wave of discombobulation where systems are being shaken like a snow globe and monumental transformation is happening, that you get into this weird spot where you're not seeing progress the speed at which you want, and you begin to feel a little doubting. Like, okay, I was full steam ahead, and I was all for it, woohoo! And then the actual work took place, and now we've kind of slowed down a little bit, and I'm worried. I'm getting discouraged. Don't be discouraged. And I said why yesterday, because you are in that moment, and the change is coming. And that there are people working behind the scenes, and they have been working behind the scenes since the day in 2016, Barack Obama and John Brennan and James Comey and Hillary Clinton and all of these nincompoops conspired to take down Donald Trump. People have been working behind the scenes to unravel the largest political disaster, the largest political scandal in United States history. And they've been working on it nonstop. And it's been a bear. So the reason why I'm telling you this is there's new stuff coming out about James Comey, former FBI director, the guy who absolved Hillary Clinton of all guilt when it came to her private email server. New details that prove not only did he lie on multiple occasions to Congress, which is ultimately what they're going to get him for. He's part of a giant conspiracy, a criminal conspiracy that to this day is alive and well. And that is where all of these actors who tried to take down the duly elected president that you and I picked over the deep state's choice of Hillary Clinton, all of them, this is all going to come out, and it is coming out rapidly. Now, I want to take you back to 2015. In March of 2015, the New York Times put out a story. This was after Benghazi, What difference does it make? Hillary Clinton looking like absolute hell. Testifying before Congress, wearing her glasses, being smug, lying undoubtedly to the men and women in Congress, right? Came out in that hearing. She had a private email server. And that grew into this monster thing that threatened to derail who the deep state had chosen. Barack Obama, at the end of his presidency, had gotten together. Joe Biden was in on it, certainly Hillary Clinton and other deep staters. Who's going to be the heir apparent to the throne? We don't really have any fantastic candidates. We're going to put our eggs in Hillary's basket. Boom, New York Times puts out this story about this email server. Story gets bigger and bigger. What are you doing with the private email server? Well, at that time, as Hillary Clinton is gunning to run for president in 2016, she and Bill's Clinton Global Initiative started raising quite a bit of money. In fact, in the year 2016 alone, they raised or received in donations from foreign governments $2 billion with a B dollars private email server. Do you think maybe that was used to cover up some things that were criminal? Probably. Yeah. James Comey comes out, says he's conducted an investigation. There was no wrongdoing. She was overstepping her bounds. It was unfortunate, but nothing really to see here, and along we should all go. And then they stole the election after she lost, stole it from Donald Trump in 2020. Now, I'm hopscotching ahead quite a bit because it is this 2020 zone where we need to land on to realize that if we don't have faith and trust in our elections, which I don't know about you guys. I'm getting more of it now that we've got Harmeet Dillon doing the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, looking at the elections side of things. That's good. But I want to take you back to a special BS board I posted in December 15th of 2020. You guys remember my BS boards, right? This is all the white erase board, and I would scribble stuff on it because we were very data-driven during COVID. We were locked down. We were shut up. We were told nothing to see here. The election was done. Nothing to look at. Bull crap, ladies and gentlemen. My. Did you realize, and I resurrected this BS board this morning because this essentially tells you what all of this has been about. The cover-up, the smoke screen, all the crossfire hurricane nonsense, lying for Hillary and her private email scandal, snowballing into trying to steal an election because there's no way Donald Trump was going to be able to win re-election. They launched the Russian collusion, crossfire hurricane nonsense on him to take him out. And when that didn't look like it was going to be enough, they had to use a virus, scare you to stay home, launch everybody, get 15 individual absentee ballots, mail-in ballots, flood the zone and steal an election. And anybody who talked about it, anybody was warned, don't you dare. You'd be kicked off of social media. I know, I was. You'd lose jobs. I know, I did. But I want to land on this December 15th, 2020 BS board because this is what it says. And the charade continues. Doing a dive on the election numbers. The numbers coming in. So in Obama, when he won his second reelection, his reelection, he won with 69 million votes. Joe Biden, when we were told he won with 80 million votes. So an old black guy an old white guy beat a young black guy, first black president, by 16% and 11 million votes. Are you out of your mind? If that wasn't enough, Barack Obama won 873 counties. Joe Biden won 477, 55% fewer counties, but won 11 million more votes. It's almost like the vote cheating was concentrated in very specific blue cities, which, by the way, happen to be infiltrated right now by Trende Aragua and all of your illegal aliens. Here we go. Real-time election data. Did you know in Michigan on election night, election next day, I should say, 11/4, November 4th, at 6:31 in the morning, as the counting is still going on, In 7 seconds, there was a sudden influx of 149,722 ballots, votes, 149,000 votes, of which 94.3% were for Joe Biden. Statistically thinking about that, what do you think the probability is of that besides 0? 94% of about 150,000 votes that come in 7 seconds go to Joe Biden. Donald Trump gets 5,989 votes to Joe Biden's 141,258. Joe Biden closes the gap and takes the lead in those 7 seconds in Michigan. In Wisconsin, same thing happens in 5 minutes from 3:37 in the morning until 3:42 the day after Election Day. A sudden influx of 168,366 voters comes in, votes. 143,000 or 85% go to Joe Biden. Donald Trump gets 25,000. Joe Biden, 143,000. Before that vote influx, Donald Trump had always been in the lead. Now, those are just 2 areas, ladies and gentlemen. There are 5 or 6 others where the math doesn't math. This is what essentially this entire ridiculous charade that you and I have been pushed through, this high school musical of dog and pony garbage, lies that the media amplify to run cover for the Democratic deep state. This is what it's about. They stole that election from Donald Trump, and they gave it to sleepy Joe Biden so they could execute their sordid, twisted, communist, American-hating agenda on all of us, my friends. And so all of the things you're going to hear subsequent to this, from here on out, it's all going to be part of the scheme. The raided Mar-a-Lago, why do you think Donald Trump declassified that binder, Crossfire Hurricane, right as he was leaving office? Why do you think they raided Mar-a-Lago? Because the deep state got all of the binders back, save one. And they were willing to bank on rifling through Melania's underwear drawer to find it. And yet, all along, the information that was the most damning was right there under the federal government's nose, inside a secret room, a vault, if you will, at the Hoover Building, the headquarters of the FBI. And inside that room was all of the data that shows they were all connected to take down Trump because Hillary was promised the job. And then you showed up. 63 million people doing what they didn't think, beating the deep state for loving America. That today, my friends, is my little synopsis. And there are going to be different spokes on the wheel today to, I believe, confirm all of this. In fact, we're going to begin a little Nancy Pelosi talk. Nancy seems very upset. What's wrong, Nancy? You okay? Is she not running for re-election? Are the walls closing in Houston? I got the answers for you next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty. Okay, let's move this up and see if we can get this next part in. As I said, I'm running over, but
Do you want it's so
I wanted to share this. It's good stuff.
Talking out of my Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Now, why would Nancy Pelosi choose not to run for re-election? Is she not? Well, Donald Trump apparently broke the 85-year-old privileged plutocrat Pelosi. She says she will not seek re-election, according to the Liberty Daily. It's almost like this grand conspiracy of which 2020 and the theft of the election is a huge part. It's almost like good old Nance knows what's coming. One, either a serious probe into her insider trading allegations, or number two, a complete unraveling, dismantling of exposure and possible imprisonment of key players of the deep state, ladies and gentlemen, because you don't just throw in the towel gently. I want you to hear, though, and this is sad in my mind. This is sad. She's on CNN. Nancy Pelosi is. She's been there in the House for 1,000,000 years. And she's being asked by this correspondent about Donald Trump. And literally, out of the beginning word is, he's vile. He's vile. What do you guys think is vile about President Trump? That he cares about feeding people, that he cares about ending wars, that he cares about safety and peace, that he cares about fairness, that he cares about you, that he loves the American flag, that he loves this country. Is that vile? Well, Nancy's a bit triggered here, and we broke up this audio soundbite into two. I've not heard her say this sort of stuff this way. Interesting. What's going on in Nancy Pelosi's mind? Cut one.
It's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the president of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives. He's chilled the press. He's scared people who are in our country legally.
She looks and sounds petrified. Like it's over. It's that moment in the con movie where the con men realize they didn't get away with the money, right? It's over. No, turn the machines back on. No. Nancy, we know, and everything you just said, by the way, is total garbage. You're wrapping yourself in the Constitution while you've been a major player of this entire swamp of suck. She goes on to say, running for re-election, it's never really been about serving the people of California. It's really all about the game of staying in power for the House of Representatives. And she'll do whatever she can to keep the Democrats in the House of Representatives in control. Listen to what she says.
So for me, it's just a question of one thing, winning the House for the Democrats. And that's what we're doing with Proposition 50. It's the first step. And then we go from there to winning. And my only reason I'm in Congress this term is to win the House for the Democrats, to protect us from the poison of the Trump administration.
Poison.
For holy crap, they know everything. The only reason I ran this term is so we could give it a fighting shot. That's it. And so now Scott Wong of NBC News reports multiple Democratic elected officials and top aides in California and Washington tell NBC News they believe Nancy Pelosi will choose not to seek re-election in 2026 after nearly 4 decades representing her San Francisco-based district. How do you think her San Francisco-based district is doing right now? Is it booming, or have all of the corporate headquarters moved out? Is the cost of living one of those things that brings in the young families that you need to keep a zip code booming? Oh, no, that's right. They're taxed out of oblivion, and there's a housing crisis. But at least there is a bumper crop of homelessness and the drug zombies walking around, right? It's a great place to. Nancy's done a great job managing her San Francisco-based district. This is code for Donald Trump is the one weapon that could undo what the swamp thought could never be undone. Pull the first thread and then pull it ever so slightly more until all of a sudden the tapestry on the wall is in tatters. Bit by bit, person by person, department by department. Get your bread.
Yes.
I got some gravy. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. And again, I apologize for starting the video from yesterday. and sharing that. But, you know, I go through and listen to Wendy Bell. So, you know, when I first started playing that, I thought, well, that sounds familiar, but, you know, I listened to it anyway. And then as it went on, the more it went on, I figured out, wait a minute, what the heck? So, at any rate, let me click on this Rumble tab and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell. This is the video I shared with you. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. Okay, let's jump back here. And I've copied the chats into a comment. And this is how you make a comment, folks. You put information in this little comment box. I copied the whole chats in there because, as I've said numerous times before, when the live stream ends, the live chats are gone. So I want to make them permanent part of this video. Oh, there it is. Oh, man, it's so cool to do that. If I was you, I'd run down there, scroll down there, and chat it up. Okay, again, let me remind you, these videos come directly from the producer's channel. I'm just sharing this information out, putting together a nice little package of no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Let's jump over here and check out some more election results. It looks like the polls have closed in New York City, and good old Mamdani has over 50% of the vote, which means he has more than all three of the other. Eric Adams is still on the ballot, I guess. Curtis Sliwa, which is the Republican, he's actually got 8%, 8.2% of the vote. And then Andrew Cuomo, amazingly, does have 40% of the vote. But at any rate, you know, they wanted Curtis Sliwa to drop out. I mean, Eric Adams has dropped out. He's still got, you know, 0.2% of the vote. But even if Curtis did drop out, Andrew still wouldn't have enough because 43% of the vote in, Zoran has over 50% of the vote. So there you have it. Over here in New Jersey, Mikey, M-I-K-I-E, Sherrill has 56% of the vote. And they've got lean there. I'm not sure what that lean means. In Virginia, with 79% of the vote in, they have Abigail, Democrat, as the winner. They called her as a winner. So there you have it, folks. It's a blue night across the eastern seaboard. But then again, you know, that's pretty much standard procedure for that. I do want to share some information here before I wrap this up with Crypto.com. So let's take a listen to this, and then we'll move on.
Let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging, it's here. And this latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform.
They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there.
Want in on the action? Head to Crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again.
All right, folks. Let me jump back here. All right. Let me jump back here to Mertech.com, and where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Great information here. The link to Mertech.com is in the description box. I don't have time to share all of this information with you, but I do have my daily news wrap-up coming up here in about 10 minutes, so I'm going to be busting my butt here to get that ready. Let me come over here and just show you real quick. I'm going to share the rest of this busted Wendy Bell radio video, and it should start up about the time she gets back from her bottom of the hour break, her first half-hour break, and we'll take it from there. I'll share that with you. Information from Timcast, Steve Gruber, Rubin Report, Robert Gavoye, Redacted News, The Quartering, Michael Knowles, Megan Kelly. Got a lot of great stuff here, folks. Health Ranger Report, Glenn Greenwald, Dr. Steve Turley. So please go ahead and take a quick break, grab a donut and a cup of coffee, or a sandwich and a soft drink and or a beer, and meet me back here in about 10 minutes and we'll get this started. In the meantime, I do want to thank you for your time being here with me. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.